Hi there, Paul Wolf back here again, the boss, back with part two of delivery service companies and discussing will they succeed, what's the future of the restaurant business, and how delivery service companies pertain to that. Um, the next thing I want to discuss is the service itself. Um, so a driver's going to come to the restaurant, pick up the food, um, and then take the food to the customer's house. They're going to have thermal bags or something to either keep the food warm in or produce even a little bit of heat. A lot of the pizza companies now have heated hot bags that help keep the food warm. So um, that's going to be the service itself. Um, what happens with complaints? Imagine you get this delivered. Who are you going to call? You going to call the delivery service, or are you going to call the restaurant? Whose fault was it? Who's going to pay for it? Well, I can tell you this is the restaurant's going to be more concerned about it than the delivery service company is. And I can see in quite a few cases a good restaurant owner or manager taking care of the customer, even though it was the delivery service company's fault. Now, what's going to happen? They're going to want to switch service companies if that happens too often. The delivery service company is going to probably kind of be like, I didn't do anything wrong, and heck, they probably don't even have a manager on duty to deal with an issue. If it was late, or if the driver got lost, or the food slid onto the floor, or whatever. It's not their product. And guess what? It's not even each one of them. Remember, these drivers are going to largely be independent contractors. So you're really dealing with four businesses here. You're going to deal with a restaurant. You're going to deal with the service company. You're going to be dealing with, three people. And then an independent operator that's operating his own delivery company. That because he's not actually an employee of the delivery service company. So there's really nobody's going to want to take fault for it and take blame for it, because guess what? Each one of them, the restaurant's only making $2 off it, or maybe $1, or on a large order, of course, more. But typically, a good restaurant will make not good as an average, will make about a 10% profit. Okay, now you might have really successful restaurants that are pulling in 20%, but that's rather odd. 20% is a big margin for a restaurant. And as we all know, a lot of them are losing money. As I already explained, the delivery service companies are only going to be looking at making a couple of bucks per delivery. So why are they going to want to buy your $10 hamburger and pay for it? That's going to be, and of course, the poor guy that's delivering the food, he's making $10, maybe $15 an hour if he's lucky. To do this. And he's not even getting paid an hourly wage. He's just working for tips and this little bit of delivery charge. So he's not going to be apt to do much for it either. So who's going to claim fault and who's going to pay for it is going to be a whole nother mess, because it will happen. So the other thing is the discounts. I went into kind of a fair amount of detail about that before. Is that they're getting a discount. The delivery service companies are getting a discount on the food, and then they're marking it up. How would you feel? You made a widget, and sold it to somebody, and then they sell it. And you're a retailer or a restaurant. You're in that market. You're not necessarily a manufacturer or a wholesaler, and they're creating another step between you and the consumer, and then marking up your product. I guess most of us would probably be okay with it if you're going to buy 100,000 of them. If you're doing some large volume, I'm selling my lemonade on the corner for my lemonade stand, and you want to put them in your grocery store. So yeah, I'm pretty good with that. I feel pretty good about that. Now I don't have to do it on the corner anymore. But that's not going to be the case for the restaurants. they're talking about 10, maybe 20, 25% sales increase tops using these services. So the next question is, what does the future hold? Will these companies start to advertise? I don't think so. I think their advertising, the basis of their advertisement is going to amount to hopefully being on the front page of your cell phone, like I've shown you earlier. That's going to be and if, God forbid, if they get on the second page of your home page, don't really get seen probably very often by most users. That's going to be the extent of their advertising. Because what are they going to advertise? Their service or a product? Most people advertise a product. Nobody really advertises services very often. So they don't have a product to advertise. And then if they do, say they put Benihana's on it. They put Benihana's on there. Well, if I'm Joe Schmo's hamburgers, I'm going to be a little upset that Benihana's got on the advertisement and I didn't. So then they've got a war amongst their own customers. So it becomes a real problem. I don't see the advertising happening. The next is restaurants sign up with multiple companies. So, I'm going to have all these guys deliver for me. I mean, why not? Eventually, and maybe they even have now, I don't know, I can't say this for sure. Maybe they even have a no-compete clause where you can't sign up with multiple companies. But if you're in most of these companies, mind you, are all in major cities. I checked Uber Eats just before I made these videos, and Uber Eats, I think, is in 10 cities now. And they just started within the last month or so, maybe month and a half tops. But these other companies, maybe they have a no-compete clause where you can't sign up with other companies. But sooner or later, there'll be a shakedown, and only certain ones are going to make it, as there is in everything in business. And then, if you're not with one of the big boys, you're going to want to be with the big boys, because that's the whole point of doing it, is to increase sales and increase profits. That's, again, the whole reason of being in business. So, will that cause a service war? It very possibly well could. The only reason I don't think a service war will happen is because I don't think it'll last long enough for any of them to get big enough to be viable. I just don't see that happening. Them getting big enough to cause a service war, and part of that because restaurants will eventually deliver. I think that right now you get, when you're talking about this subject, you've got two types of restaurants. You got the pizza places, and you've got the restaurants. And the restaurants have already seen that takeout is huge. And you know why takeout exploded? Because takeout is more profitable. It is cheaper. You make more money having someone come to your restaurant, pick up food, and take it home than paying for a waitress, a dishwasher, the dishes, the space, and all that. That's why delivery, you saw all these car side to go and curbside to go. Because the restaurants wanted you to come pick it up. Because they make more money doing that. About 10% more. Which is significant when you're only talking about a profit margin of 10 or 20%. Okay, so now the restaurants, to deal with this, they're going to have to remodel their restaurants. They're going to have to create more space. They're going to have to update, get all new software, get someone who's professional about knowing about delivery service. They're going to have to hire a lot of drivers and train them. And if you're already a big company, even if you're just a regional company with 50 stores, that's a lot of training, a lot of expense. Domino's, I mentioned them in the first part of this video, was that they're not Domino's Pizza anymore. They're just Domino's now. And in their TV advertisement, I think they said it was going to take them 1 or 2 years to replace all the signs and just call them Domino's now instead of Domino's Pizza. Because it's a significant expense. Signs are expensive. Now, why Domino's can't afford to switch all their signs in a month is beyond me, because number one is they shouldn't have but maybe a handful of unprofitable restaurants. Number one, less than 10, less than 10% of the restaurants should be profitable. So they should be able to take a month's profit and change the sign. But for whatever reason, they said it's going to take them a year, maybe it was 2 years, to change all the signs and take the pizza off. Now the pizza places, they're going to learn to how to add products, and they've started already doing that with chicken wings and breadsticks, and of course breadsticks wasn't a big jump, but pasta. Not that any of them are particularly good. Their wings are. I think of a buffalo wing. I think of a crisp, deep fried chicken wing with sauce on it. Um, theirs is oven baked. It's often got a powder coating on it. The chicken itself is pre-cooked, and it comes out rather kind of slimy and not dry and crisp like a deep fried chicken wing would. So that's why when I say it's really not that good, it might taste all right, but it's really not a great wing when I think of a great chicken wing. Um, but they're making products to try to make it fit their ovens, because their ovens make so drastically different than any other oven. That's why they're called pizza ovens. Um, and they have no other cooking equipment. None. None. A pizza place has nothing other than their pizza oven to cook food in. So they're going to learn that they're going to need more space to add a fryer or grill or whatever they want to add to their menu. Eventually, all this is going to happen because they're going to realize that there's too much money to be made not in doing so. It's just nobody's wanted to fork out the money and the advertisement. Uh, there's two things good about being first in the market to do something. Is number one, when you're the first in the market to do something that's going to change your industry or whatever, you get bloodiest going through the wall, because you've got to be the one that trains everybody that, hey, guess what? I deliver fried chicken, or hey, guess what? I deliver hamburgers. You've got to advertise, because right now you deliver hamburgers, you deliver fried chicken. People don't recognize that because it's never happened before. So you've got to do extra advertising to do that. So you're going to get it bloodiest because you've got to train everybody and teach everybody how to do that and how to think that way. But you also get the benefit of the head start on everybody else. Now, where that gap falls is, who knows, depending on your industry and everything and the changes you're making. Right now, that would be a significant head start, because the restaurants that do have the equipment don't have the space for the drivers. I ran at Papa John's back in 2001. Friday night, everybody got scheduled. Unless you asked for the night off and you're a driver, you got scheduled. I ran 20, 30 drivers on a Friday night. And I wasn't even the busiest restaurant. I was one of the busier ones, but I wasn't the busiest one in the area. 20, 30 drivers, just to have the standing room for them. Now, granted, most of them are going to be out on the road delivering, but you still got to, even if there's 5 or 10 in the building at the moment, you still got to have somewhere to put 5 or 10 people. And as you know, Papa John's, Pizza Huts, Domino's, they don't have a lot of space. It's $12 to $1,500 square feet, and that's usually it, which is smaller than many of our houses. So, just that alone. Plus, you're talking about phones, extra cooking equipment. You're talking about an area for the drivers, a place to store the bags, a driver station where you can route your drivers and send them out the door. You're talking about a significant amount more space. And, Domino's is already saying just to do their sign is going to take them a year. Now imagine if you've got to remodel every single Applebee's or Chili's or Mexican restaurant or whatever, and add on probably at least a good 500 square feet to that restaurant somewhere. Well, that's going to take up a parking spot or two that they're not going to want to lose. That's going to change the flow of the restaurant and how it how it goes. So a good possibility that they're going to have to not only add that on, but also remodel part of the restaurant because it's not going to flow right. And a restaurant works kind of like a factory works. It needs restaurants don't make money per item so much as they make money in volume. And volume is part of manufacturing. And that's part of what a good restaurant is it becomes a factory. You're making the same products over and over again, and there's a flow to it. Well, if that conveyor belt breaks down, you're in big trouble. That's when things get screwed up at a restaurant, and that's when you see problems happen. Um, and all of us have had it happen to us at a restaurant where we've gone in and got bad service or whatever. Well, that's usually because it operates like a factory. And if you imagine things coming down on the assembly line, if something at one point in that assembly line, something gets screwed up, the food, the product, or whatever it is, starts dropping off the end of the conveyor belt and starts creating a pile. And everything gets screwed up. And that's where you see the biggest problems in restaurants. And it's just the consumer doesn't know it or the customer doesn't know what exactly it is. And of course, there's occasionally they forgot. You ask them no onions, they put onions on it. Those are small problems. Those are easy to fix. But when that machine breaks down and those things keep falling off the conveyor belt and you get this pile, that's when things really get screwed up. And that's what every restaurant manager's nightmare. And that's how restaurants operate. So if you're going to add another step into this, and your conveyor belt's going to split from a single line going down a conveyor belt, and then you got to split it into a Y so that you can do carry on and dine in, and then you got to split it into a Y again so you can go dine in, carry out, and delivery. You're talking about adding some more difficulty to this, and part of that has got to be the design of your restaurant, the design of your kitchen, and the production area, and it's got to flow in the right way. So it's not just a matter of adding on necessarily 500 square feet. They may have to remodel part of the restaurant and take away part of the dining room to do this, or even though they add on the 500 square feet, maybe the 500 they added on is going to be dining room, and part of the old dining room is going to be now part of the delivery operation. It's going to cost these companies significant money to do it, but it's on the horizon. In 10 years, there's going to be very few restaurants that don't deliver. You'll probably only your fine dining, I would venture to say. Maybe your fast food will stay out of it because of the fact they have the drive-through window, and that's really convenient in itself. They may stay out of it, but I wouldn't be surprised if McDonald's is delivering food in 10 years. Um, in many of the other fast food restaurants, in the middle ground of restaurants, I've seen most all of them delivering in 10 years from now. So that's my thoughts on delivery service companies and delivery and where the business is going. I hope you've liked it. Please leave me comments or send me an email and let me know what your thoughts. Again, if you're visiting me on YouTube, come visit me on my website at www.theboss.rocks. And yeah, that's true. It's .rocks. Not everything has to be .com, .org, or anything like that nowadays. It can be. They've come out where there's all kinds of new suffixes you can have. So that is correct. .rocks. So come visit me there, and I'll also be putting up my outline that I've had on my dry erase board here on my website. So if you want to see what I've covered and cover it with your people, you can do that. I will also be adding links to all these companies so that you can go check out their websites and what they're doing if you want to be educated on this and see what they're doing. Or maybe you want to sign up with one of the companies or something. I will put that on the website. Give me a little bit of time on that, though. This is my first video. It's part 2 of my first video. So, and I'm still creating my website is still in the works. I'm still working out the kinks and figuring out how to do some of the stuff. So As I said at the beginning, I'm not a chef, but I cook well. Well, I'm also not a web designer, so be a little bit patient in getting the links up and the forms with my outlines on them and whatnot, and the blogs and stuff too. So, but in the meantime, you'll definitely be able to comment on YouTube, and my email is on my website. So if you want to ask me a question, please feel free to send it to me. And thank you, and God bless again.